Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Be Positive with me, your host, Krista Gregg. Before we begin, this is a quick content warning. Today's episode includes discussion of suicide loss. Please take care while listening. If you or someone you love needs support, you can always call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, for free, confidential support in the United States. This conversation was originally recorded in September during Suicide Prevention Month, and while it has taken some time to release, the messages that you're going to hear is just as important now as ever. And today I am joined by Bill Muir, a crime and trauma scene cleaner and suicide loss survivor, who lost his son Christian 8 years ago to suicide. Bill is also a dear friend of mine, and he will be sharing Christian's story, the realities of grief, and how he turned loss into purpose by helping families. This is a conversation about healing, legacy, and continuing to show up when it matters most. And I hope you enjoy and get a lot out of what Bill is about to share. Thank you so much for listening to Be Positive. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Be Positive. I am so excited you're here, and I am thrilled to have Bill Muir on this episode with me. He is a longtime friend in the crime and trauma scene cleaning world, but the work that he does goes beyond the work sites, and it has a lot of meaning and heart behind it. And I am so excited for you all to hear his story. Hey, Bill, and I'm
Hi,
so glad you're here.
my name is Bill Muir. I'm from Bio One in Chicago. I am a survivor of suicide. I lost my son, Christian. So anything that I can do to help others, I'm all for. And that's part of my healing also. We'll never heal altogether, but this definitely helps me a lot.
Well, I'm glad. I know one of the things you told me, gosh, when we connected several years ago, is one of the goals in your life was to share Christian's story and to share your story and to spread more information about suicide prevention, suicide loss awareness, all of the above. And since September is Suicide Prevention Month, what a better time to be able to talk with you today and hear your story and Christian's story. Let's dive in a little bit. Tell us about Christian and what he was like and when he was born and his life growing up.
Christian was born. He was the second child. His sister is Cassandra, or Cassie, we call her. He struggled. He struggled a lot. When he was a baby, we did not know that putting a baby to bed with a bottle with apple juice will destroy their teeth. And they did. Then he was a tippy toe walker, so he had FTOs on his legs or on his feet to stop him from tippy toe walking. He had some learning disabilities, just delayed learning. So he was in special needs classes most of his life, but a heart of gold. It's just beyond belief how big of a heart he had, and he would do anything to help anybody. So he was a pretty incredible kid. He really was. Even with all the struggles, he always tried to help somebody.
That's awesome. What were his favorite activities or family traditions that you guys had growing up?
He was into martial arts a lot. In fact, he was at a class 2 days prior to us losing him. So the when he did pass, the martial arts instructor came, and all the guys that I also trained with came. So that part was pretty incredible because he was getting really good at martial arts. That was probably his favorite, and it was a great escape for him. That was probably the number one thing. He was just starting to go to school for auto mechanics.
Yeah. Did he always have an interest in cars
He
and
did.
and working on them?
The only bad part is that I was not interested in cars at that time, so kind of struggled because I couldn't teach him what I didn't know. But he learned a lot from friends, and then he also started getting jobs in that field.
And I know you mentioned to me, and you guys just recently went to a concert, and it was one of his favorite bands. It was Shinedown, right?
Yeah,
Shinedown?
Yeah,
What it was. What kind of music did he like? Was it similar in that type of genre, or was he a big music guy?
it was very similar. He was very into Shinedown and Skillet, a lot of hard rock bands,
Nice.
but it worked out great because we loved the same music. So we would go to concerts all the time, and I would be like telling my wife, okay, well, we need to get tickets for this concert. We need to get tickets for this. So, and he had zero rhythm. I mean, zero. It was like, "What are you doing?" Like, everybody would be pumping their fists in the air, and he would be opposite of everybody. But he didn't care because he loved why he was there and loved the music, so it was pretty cool.
It sounds like those moments at the concerts and listening to music together is definitely a big piece of your memories with him.
Oh, absolutely.
What's your favorite family moment, if you don't mind me asking?
It sounds kinda weird, but
Yeah.
my favorite moments with Christian was when he was sick.
Wait, okay, you need to give more here.
When he was sick and had a cold or something, he would be the cuddle monster. Even even as he got older, he was still a cuddle monster. He would hug us and lay down by me or my wife. So it was pretty crazy. And
Oh,
my wife was his stepmom, but you would never know it the way that they interacted.
ah, I love that. There's nothing better than like curling up on a couch, watching a
Yeah.
movie as a family and just hanging out. So, as he's getting older, what was life kind of like leading up to the day he died by suicide?
He struggled with peer pressure.
Mhm.
Um, never once did drugs, any alcohol, none of that. Even though we lost him, he was 22 years old. But it wasn't like that. He did struggle from mental health issues
Yeah.
basically all his life because he was delayed, because, he was different, so he didn't fit in with the A crowd or the number one crowd. But he had his friends, and he used to reach out to them a lot. But as he got older, everybody goes their separate ways, goes off to college, gets busy. And as he got older, he was struggling more and more. He had a psychiatrist, he had therapists, he was in therapy for 7 years. So, and it was the when we lost him was not the first time. He was hospitalized a few different times to try to help him cope and find ways to release those bad vibes, I guess.
Yeah, and how are you doing as a parent trying to navigate all of this and really be there for him, but, the
It
ups
was
and downs?
it was really tough because I do have mental health issues also. Nothing like in his situation, but so I understood what he was going through, and trying to help him was really hard. And I used to tell him, I said, you got to fight for this. You got to fight to get through this. When he was in high school, I'm like, you're only going to see these guys a certain amount of time, or these people a certain amount of time. And then our high school's over and here comes college. And it's a whole different world when it comes to college, because when you're going to class, these are the same people like you that want to do exactly what you're doing, things like that. But, he had good days and he had bad days, just like everybody does.
Yeah.
Some people can handle it better than others.
Yeah. What in as much detail or little detail as you want to go into, what happened on that day and how did you find out that he was no longer here?
Uh, so I was going to a conference for the chief of police with Bio One.
Okay.
So every year when I see that chief of police conference come up, I just shriek because I remember that day. So I had gotten a text message from my old boss, and it said, "Hey, check on Christian. Something's wrong." That was it. So call Christian. He's not answering. I'm texting Christian. He's not answering. So I had his sisters. He has a biological sister, Cassie, and then he has two stepsisters. So I called all of them and said, try to get a hold of Christian. He must be having a bad day or something. His boss, my old boss, said he's having a problem.
Okay.
We couldn't get a hold of him. Could not get a hold of him. So one of my employees had gotten done early and was dropping off the vehicle at my house, and the state police were there. But they wouldn't tell him what happened. They wouldn't tell me what happened because I was out of town. It's the dumbest law there is.
This is a law. They can't tell you?
In the state of Illinois, yes. They have to tell somebody by blood. So I had to wait 45 minutes for them to drive to my brother's house. They told my brother what happened, and then my brother called me and told me what happened, which is ridiculous because I should be the first to know in my eyes. I mean,
I feel like that's a parent next of kin call, not a, hey, we have to be eye to eye call.
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
wholeheartedly agree with you. I think
Yeah.
that's crazy because I can't even imagine what those 45 minutes were like while you were waiting.
Well, that was just part of it. Because of him passing by suicide, they took his cell phone, but couldn't get into his cell phone because they didn't know the password. I didn't know the password. Nobody knew the password. So I said, well, nobody knows the password. We might just get rid of the phone. They held on to it. They also had his car. The detective told me that they would keep the car for 1 year under investigation, and he called it the Drew Peterson law. Well, I didn't look it up because he's a police officer. I believed him.
Right.
It was false. We waited a year to get our car back. And the only way we got it back is we had a lawyer write a letter asking for it back.
Was it
So
wait, but I guess my confusion is how long did it take for them to rule it as a suicide versus being an open investigation?
I don't know what the official time was, but I knew within 24 hours.
Yeah, it wasn't a years long.
Yeah, it was the Will County. That's the county that he passed in. The coroners told us within 24 hours what it was. Yeah,
Wow.
and yeah, it was pretty heartbreaking because I thought I'm not the only one that has to go through this. And then after that year, we went to pick up the car. Well, guess what? The car wouldn't start. The car wouldn't move because they had it sitting there for a year, so all the brakes were locked up. The alternator went bad and the battery went bad. So we had to tow it out. So it was just one thing after another. The only good thing is that we had given it to a friend of the family that had recently got her license back
Mhm.
from a DUI,
Okay.
and um, our we just had a verbal agreement that if she got caught or we found out that she was drinking and driving, we would take the car back.
Yeah.
But at least the car went to somebody to help them with their life, encourage them to know that, somebody lost their life for this vehicle. So we paid to get the car all set up for her, and um I don't know if she's still driving it. If not, she traded in for a better car, but she is still clean after 8 years. So it helped.
It
It
sounds like one of the first of many things you have done in memory of Christian.
definitely, definitely.
I want to ask this too. Why the car? Did it happen in the vehicle or was he at the house inside?
No, what happened was he drove to a bridge, and what's really weird is he used to always tell us when we were driving over the bridge, because that's how we would go to my brother's house. That's the bridge he jumped off of. So I flipped the mile marker off where he jumped. Every time I have to drive there, I'd flip off the mile marker. After after I did get the call from my brother, I just lost it. My wife and I walked next to this canal by the conference center or water thing. I sat down, and it was the strangest thing because one of the favorite things for him were animals and dogs. Love dogs. I sat down, and my wife was calling my ex-wife to let her know what happened. And I was sitting there, and there was a stray pit bull that walked up to me and just let me pet him. So, and there's signs.
Yeah.
You lose a loved one, there are signs like all the time. It's constant. So
Do you
that,
call them signs or do you have some people call them winks or hugs or you're not the first and you're certainly not going to be the last person to say this.
yeah.
I'm a huge believer in signs like this.
Yeah, I call it signs saying that, hey, I'm okay. And that was probably a weird one as I look back at it, but there's different one. There was a road that he and I used to love to drive down. It was just like there was a quarry, and then they took part of the quarry and made like a park, like a wildlife park and everything. And we used to always see hawks flying over there. So a few days after I lost him, I was crying driving down that road, and the strange thing is name of the road is Royce Road. And I'll get back into that Royce part of it.
Okay. Are we talking Royce like Rolls Royce? Okay. Okay.
So it was Royce Road. I was driving down and I'm like, God, please, if there's anything, can you please let me know that he's, and I never got okay out of my mouth because a hawk flew right in front of my windshield. I mean, right in front of it. I was like, holy cow. So then I was like, yeah, at least I know he's okay.
It's okay.
So he watches over us. That's the way I look at it. And it's a sad situation, but it also helps me tremendously with what we do now.
Yeah.
To go for the Royce, I used to do a lot of work with a family, and they had over the last few years, they lost their father and lost their mother. And they didn't realize that the father had Rolls Royces in a storage facility. Their father never told them or nothing, and they donated them all to me, all five of them. So I am using that to, once I get everything fixed on them and titled, part of that money will go towards suicide surviving, hopefully saving someone's life. It's just another part of going through what losing Christian made me help us understand there's a lot of people that need help. So that's what we do.
Absolutely. And you
Yeah.
already had your crime and trauma scene cleaning business, Bio One, going.
Yeah. He helped me on a job or two, but I never let him go in on a scene or anything because I knew he struggled with some stuff. So I would not allow that. And I didn't want him to work for me until he was really comfortable with working with us because I didn't want it. And the day what triggered this and what happened was he was at his job and they were trying to move a pretty big piece of equipment like a Slurpee machine. Well, it fell and he jumped back. Well, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, his shoulder was bothering him. So he went and got a bag of ice and was holding his shoulders. The owner's brother was a bully. He's an older gentleman, but tend to bully everybody. And he's very well known for bullying. And he asked Christian, why do you have ice pack on your shoulder? And he goes, that, that machine fell and I hurt my shoulder. That's all he said from what the bystanders were saying. So the owner's brother went back and looked at the camera, came back and got in an argument with Christian saying, you didn't get hit by the machine. I don't understand it. You're faking it. And this is the way he is. So Christian took it personal. They got in a big argument
Right.
and Christian was hot. And when the guy would yell at people, he would verbally abuse. I mean, curse words like you wouldn't believe. So the HR department came out and said, "Hey, Chris, come on in here." And then they said, "Why don't you just go ahead and go home for the day? Don't worry about it." And this was a Friday. Well, Christian was working on getting his own apartment, and we were going to help him.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he was being fired. So instead of going home or calling us or anything, he drove to the bridge. So for those that are listening, it's a stupid trigger, a stupid argument, a stupid bully, and it cost somebody their life. So, it's just words. And that's what people have to learn is that we don't know what's going on in someone's life. We don't know what's going on in their personal or what happened. You don't know all the details. Was Christian hurt? Obviously he was because he didn't do stuff like that. That's how we lost him, to something so silly, something so stupid. And for those that are listening and have bad thoughts growing through your head, just walk away, let it go, because that person does not get the credit or anything or whatever somebody wants to call it in losing a life. And I'm sure that he never ever thought that this would happen, but after this happened, I still had friends that worked there and he still continued to bully people. Well, being in martial arts as long as I still had his cell phone number. So every time he would bully someone, I would text him and he wouldn't know how I knew or anything. I would just say, remember, it cost one person their life by being a bully. Do you still think that bullying is working for you? And they said that maybe after about 6 months, he stopped or didn't completely stop, but slowed down dramatically. So hopefully with me texting him, it helped. Who knows? But I will always think that maybe it helped.
It probably did as a clear reminder. I mean, it is a really important lesson no matter what age you are in life. Words have such damaging impact in, yeah, you have no idea what's going on in someone's life or how they're feeling or how they will interpret what you're saying. And for what we are in control of, our words and our actions certainly can always improve. And there's so many of us that even on our worst day, having empathy for someone else can go so far.
Absolutely. So I use the losing him as kind of an advantage to me when I do have to clean up someone that has passed from suicide.
Hmm.
So it helps me a lot. I know the organizations that will help and that are doing it for free. I let people know that I have lost a loved one very close to me. It helps them a lot. And then I always give them I have a business cell phone and then I give a personal cell phone. And I give them both my numbers and say, no matter what time it is, if you're having bad thoughts or you're struggling on why or whatever, just call me and maybe we can talk through it. I know what you're going through. And there's been a few owners of Bio One that have also lost children. I try to get, as soon as I hear, I call them right away to help them and help them understand, don't blame yourself. It wasn't you that caused this. It was the situation. And
Yeah.
we don't cause situations.
They're facing their own burdens. And um I love that you are so forthcoming with opening yourself up to help others, because it is a unique situation where I find myself oftentimes wondering, what can I do? How can I help somebody who's grieving and going through the unthinkable? But because I don't have firsthand experience, I feel very lost in that and a little bit unsure. What can people do? What's one or two things that someone could do if they haven't had firsthand experience but still want to help? What's most meaningful?
At first, everybody's going to be right there to say, hey, let us know what you need.
Hmm.
We're not going to reach out to you. We don't. It's just we don't for whatever reasons. But after about 3 weeks, when everything settles down, the loneliness is when it kicks in. You're lonely because that person is missing. It's now eating you at you. The numbness is gone. So just text that person and just after a month and just say, hey, just thinking of you. Hope you're having a better day. And I always, no matter what, I always tell people, I hope you have a better day. Because sometimes it's like, I hope you're having a good day. And then someone's like, well, I'm not having a good day. But your day can always get better. No matter what, it can always get better. So that's why I always tell people, I hope you have a better day. And it tends to help a lot. So, and there's a lot of different things that I have done to help in those situations. And it's not, it, in a part of it is selfishness.
Hmm.
The more people I can help, the better I feel.
Right.
And it's not selfishness like most people think, but it's selfishness in a good way because I'm helping others to help me. And that's exactly what we did. So when we did lose Christian, it was obviously horrific, but Christian had a couple life insurance policies. So I took my portion because his biological mother got a portion of it too. But I took my portion and put it into an account. I was going to open up a foundation called Christian Cares. And what Christian Cares would have done is help people in cleanup situations, donations for awareness, things like that. But when I went to see a lawyer, the lawyer said, yeah, that'd be great. We can definitely help. It's going to cost you $5,000 to get this all set up. And I said, well, it's a non for profit. And he's like, yeah, it's non for profit for you, but we still have to pay our bills. And so I thought about it for a while and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Because as part of that foundation is I would have to have a board of directors, and a board of directors has to approve who we can donate money to. Well, for suicide awareness, that's fantastic. We can have a board and we can do that. But the other part of it was I wanted money to go for people that couldn't afford our services. If they lost someone to suicide, I
Yeah.
didn't want I didn't want to have to go to a board and say, "Hey, is it okay if we not cover this?" Because if we did that, now they're waiting for us to clean it, but they don't have anywhere to go that night. So I need to clean it and I need to clean it now. And I didn't want to go and say, well, you may have to pay for it, you may not.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go right there and say, Christian Cares. And people look at you like you're crazy because when you just say Christian Cares, they don't understand it. Why would they? And then I explained that I lost my child to suicide. I use his life insurance policy money to cover the costs. Well, seeing that Christian passed away 8 years ago, that money didn't last long at all. So my wife and I said, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we take 10% of all of the jobs that we do for insurance and put it to the account? And then we can continue to do this and we'll just use Christian's name as part of it to help others understand that we know what they're going through. And then it continues a legacy of we didn't lose Christian for nothing. We lost Christian, but he's still helping people every day. And so it worked out and it continues to work out. We do tell people that Christian cares and tell the story. It's an instant car wash on their face or the tears come pouring down. But the tears are not of loss. The tears are that we don't have to pay a bill on this, but it's also helping people understand that there are still great people out here that care,
Yeah.
and it helps a lot. It really does. I had told another bio one owner when he first started, I said, when you do this work, you're going to feel really good about yourself. But when you do a job for free, will be an incredible feeling that you'll never get from anything else. So if there's a drug um, that you're taking, let it be the adrenaline rush when you see that family smile, knowing that people are there to care and that you've done it for free. So it's an incredible feeling. I'll take that high over anything else. I don't want anything else. Just that helping people feel so much better about what's going on and their situation. It hasn't changed. It continues constantly. I just had one that I did a couple weeks ago, and the family's like, we don't know what to do. He was in an apartment and we took care of everything. And then called me and they're like, Bill, we got a bunch of stuff that we're going to donate, but we don't know what to do with it. So we went there and picked it all up and donated it for them. Give them the receipts, but it is an incredible feeling when you get that text message or that call that says, I don't know what I would have done without you. Thank God there's people like you. So it's an incredible feeling. I wish I would have never lost my son, but it has helped me. I had a big heart for these things anyways, but it definitely opened my heart a lot more for people in those situations.
Do you know roughly how many people so far you've been able to help with Christian Cares?
It's well over 100.
That's incredible.
Yeah, there's a organization in Chicago called Chicago Survivors. Chicago Survivors is an organization that are helping families of homicides. They're the survivors of homicides. So we get a lot of car shootings, things like that. Well, the cars are usually in pretty good shape. Sometimes they got bullet holes, sometimes, windows are shot out or whatever. But somebody is still liable for that car payment, things like that, even though they're now gone.
Yeah.
So what we do is we'll help them get the cars out. Normally a tow truck will bring it to the parking lot of the police pound, or they'll bring it to their house and then we cover the car and clean it, and we don't charge, and Christian Cares pays for it. So it's not just about suicide, even though that is very close, near and dear to my heart. It's still losing a loved one. So that's how that's why the number is well over 100 now. But it's pretty incredible. There was a job I had done, or we did, and when I was all done with the job, I was talking to the owner of the house, and she was telling me that she was a police officer in Chicago. And I said, oh, so normally you have to live in Chicago. That's why you live here. And we were going back and forth and everything. I had told her about a job where a police officer was shot and killed that we cleaned up. And she cried. She started crying because she was right behind the police officer. It was her partner.
Wow.
And she had wrote the check for me. And as she was talking, I started ripping it up. And I started telling her the story about how I lost my son and how I do Christian cares. And she's, we were just going back and forth talking about things we've seen and stuff like that. And so I went to go shake her hand. And as I shook her hand, I grabbed her wrist and flipped her palm up and took the ripped up check and put it in her hand and told her Christian cares. And she just started crying so much, gave me a big hug. I mean, she's now a single mom with 3 children. Just an incredible feeling. But it was another way for Christian to help, and it was another way for me to help others. So, yeah.
What is your I mean, that is already such a powerful moment and powerful story, and you've shared a couple. Is there one moment or one person above all else that really stands out to you in a situation where Christian Cares has been able to help?
There's been so many now.
I know, I
Now I'm
know.
on the spot.
Well, now let me ask this while you're thinking about that. Obviously, now your life has forever changed since 8 years ago. When you are on job sites that have to do with kids, how do you show up and be there for them? And does your own grief and experience even further power you on the job sites, or do you have to block yourself out and really solely focus on the task at hand?
So it definitely helps because I let them know right away I lost a child. So I know what they're going through. So it helps me tremendously. The things that I go through when it comes to children are my employees are not allowed to clean up children. I do. I don't want them to have to dream about it or anything like that. Not that they may or they may not, but I clean them up because then I will tell the parents that I was the one that cleaned it up.
Mhm.
Because anytime that happens, parent will always ask, did they suffer? My answer is no. Nobody ever suffers. And then I said, it's okay. Even though usually when we lose a child, when those things happen, it's usually a violent act or something, especially when it comes to homicides and things like that. And I say, no, your loved one passed away from heart failure, or your loved one passed away from respiratory failure. No, they didn't. I know what happened. No, they passed away from heart failure because the last thing that happens is our heart is the last thing that beats. But sometimes people feel a lot better about that. And
Yeah.
that's what I tell people how I lost my son is that he jumped off a bridge, but he died from heart failure because his heart didn't pump anymore. Different things like that. And I come up with creative ideas. I also will not allow a room to look exactly the same when it comes to homicides or suicides. When we're done with the room, we will change the beds around to be on different walls, different things like that, because a lot of times when things do happen, parents are the ones that find their loved ones,
Yeah.
or it could be a wife or husband, grandfather, it's everybody. So we change the rooms around so when they walk into the room is totally different because the way that our brains work is the last thing on our minds are the picture that we see.
Yeah.
So if they found their loved ones in the bed or what have you, and we change the room around, they'll say, well, why'd you change the room? Wasn't that over there? Wasn't that there? So anytime they walk in that room, their picture in their mind is, yeah, that goofy Bill put the room the wrong way. But it helps. And then we always say, we'll put it back the way you want it. And we tell them why we did it. Every I've never ever had a complaint. I had a 74-year-old man laid in he had a separate bedroom from his wife, and he had used a handgun on himself. Well, I took and put his dresser on a different wall. Then I took the pictures on the wall and moved them to different walls and took a calendar and moved it. And his wife came in and she's like, the calendar's on the wrong wall. And I'm like, no. She's like, yeah, the calendar was on that wall, wasn't it? And I said, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that dresser right there was in that spot. And she laughed and she just busted out laughing. She's like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that the dresser was different. And then I told her why we did it. And we both laughed and we laughed very hard about it. So those are the things that help take our minds off of it a little bit. And when they do think about what bad things happen in that room, the last picture in their mind is that goofy Bill put the calendar on the wrong wall.
I was on a scene a few weeks ago. We were just overbooked that day. And if I'm suiting up, we've had a busy day. Not that I don't enjoy it, but I'm kind of like last man standing. And the mother was upstairs just so upset all day, as completely understandable. I was finished. My husband Matt joined me towards the end to finish getting all the carpet and, finish organizing the room and making sure, similarly to you, it has enough differences, but it's clean, and it's a way to start anew and start fresh. And we walk up the stairs, and the mom comes up to me to show me a picture of her son that she lost. And she just says, "Isn't he good looking? Wasn't he just so good looking?" And my husband's standing right there. And I look at Matt and I said, "Sorry, honey, but he's good looking. I don't know. I think I would have dated that guy." And she just started laughing. And I said, "He kind of looks a lot like you." And she said, "No, you're just saying that." And I said, "I would say that on any day, not just today." And we just all started having a moment of laughing, and it was more celebrating him. And that doesn't take away what she has and will endure the rest of her life through the grief process, but it's a moment we can give. And it's letting them feel seen and heard and cared about in a way that, as crime scene cleaners, for anyone listening that doesn't know much about our profession, we're there for a small moment. Oftentimes we come in and we're the last people to arrive after police have cleared the scene, but then we also leave pretty quickly. It could be as quick as a couple hours to maybe a day or two, depending on the circumstances. But in those moments that we are there, we make everyone count, of just trying to go above and beyond and do our best to make sure that we clean up all the biohazards, bodily fluid, anything that is left behind after the coroner and medical examiner have come. So a little background into what we do.
Yep. You had asked me about memories. The memorable one is a job where a gentleman had lost both of his sons. It was a homicide. One of the incredible things was it was on a carpet, like one of the carpets where kids will play cars, because it's all matted out with streets and stop signs and things like that. I moved it and took a picture, because we have to take before and after pictures. And when I went back to look at the pictures, there was a stain on the floor before we cleaned it of wings. It was blood, but it was wings. Like he became an angel. Just
Wow.
just incredible. Just incredible. And then in those situations, I do go to the wakes and funerals to show my respect. And I had brought a little bottle of Patron, because their father was from Mexico. And I had one of his family members interpret it, but I'm like, "I'm sorry, but we don't have good tequila in America, so I had to give you some Patron." But we drank it together. Neither one of us spoke the language, but we both knew losing a child and what goes on and stuff. So that was probably my most memorable one, is having a shot of tequila with him.
You have been on so many sides of this topic, from helping people who have experienced it to being a suicide loss survivor yourself, losing your son. What message and takeaway do you want people to have, whether it's prevention or in mental health, whatever it may be? What do you want people to know about suicide prevention and what they can do?
How to stop the trigger. Figure out before there's ever a trigger what gets you going, what's going to set you off, and figure out how to stop it. Christian's biological sister, she loves coloring books. That's her escape. So when she's feeling really depressed, that's what she does. If I'm feeling really depressed, I try to do as many jobs or go on as many jobs as I can, because I know if I'm helping people, it's helping me. So everybody in life, no matter if it's for mental health reasons or just getting upset about something, find your happy place. Find whatever it is that puts you in that better place and go to it. Don't matter what it is if you have that spot, if you have that where you can go to help somebody, if you can color, if you can go in your garden and pick tomatoes, and that makes you feel better. Find that spot, because the trigger's going to come. It may not be suicide. It may be that you're just going to explode because we do live in a stressful world. If you can find that place before it happens, and then you go, man, you know what? I'm just going to go and work on my garden, or I'm going to go and help somebody. There's a really good chance that that's going to save yourself one way or another, whether it's high blood pressure, a stroke, fight with your loved one that doesn't need to happen, or loss of life. If you can find it, just remember what I'm saying. Find something that'll help you, because maybe this story will help save your life.
Your words and your message is fantastic, and your actions speak volumes with everybody that you've been able to help in the Chicago area. If anyone wants to reach out to Bill, learn more about crime and trauma scene cleaning, learn more about the great work he's doing with Christian Cares, how can someone reach out to you?
You can call me at 708-473. It is always the best way.
Okay.
And maybe I'm taking the dogs out or taking out Oscar, my potbelly pig, and I'll always show you a picture of him.
Oscar's the best. If you can get a picture of Oscar, it will absolutely brighten up your day.
Did I send you the picture of the ramp? Him
Yeah, when
coming down.
he's coming down. Yes.
It was so cute.
So cute.
Walking down his ramp out of the truck.
Okay, well, I just thank you so much. And
You're very welcome. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we help people, because that's what it's all about.
absolutely. All right, Phil, until next time.
Bye. Take care.